Okay, so I chose my topic which is to criticize, write a poem, a free verse poem to criticize the way people either think or live their lives meaninglessly. Um, so here are a few philosophers. Yep. So I chose this topic specifically because um, I just am the kind of person where I will sit down and stare at a wall and think about why we have two legs and birds have wings and why, I don't know, the sky is blue and all the weird reasonings for like why maybe the sky is blue other than actual scientific reasoning. I don't know. I just like to think all the time. And so I'll I also will observe other people. I don't know, I like to give life advice and stuff even though I probably don't know that much, but whatever. So, yes, I'm going to critique the world in a second here. So, the process and research, here's a picture of Muhammad Ali because for some reason I thought he was like Muhammad, the creator of Islam, and I was very wrong, so that was something I learned in my research. Here is a picture of, this is like the idea of existentialism in Buddhism a little bit. I don't do a lot of research on religions and some of the beliefs in there to if I could actually say that they have common beliefs because I didn't know that. But a lot of people find their meaning through religions and sports or making money and things like that. So I had to do research with that and research on different philosophers and their ideals, and yep. So okay, so this is from one of my favorite TV shows, Rick and Morty, and they usually have like a hidden meaning behind every episode, and this is the Big Head episode. I don't know, nobody probably know, like 3 people know what it is, Nate, and yep. But so the idea behind this episode was that one god, the Big Head, came to their earth and immediately everybody started worshipping without even knowing what it was, and it was like a critique on religion, and I don't know, I just thought it was cool that that popped up at the same time I was researching. Here's some more research I did. This was actually more the stuff that interests me. From psychologist points of view, what people do. Sigmund Freud is a very famous psychologist. He kind of started the whole existential vibe going on in the psychology world. So, yes, paid a lot of attention to him. Why are we here, and what is our purpose? The unconscious reasoning behind every action to find your meaning. You wonder why you're here living, in this place, at this time, in this situation, with these people. You wonder why these things that happen to you. Have you found your reason to wake up every day? Why your heart beats on its own and tries so hard to keep you alive it can kill you doing it. For the people that believe that everything happens for a reason will agree, you never know the reason until after you live through it. Can't that be for life on its own? You think maybe when we die, everything finally makes sense, giving a reason for everything. We find our meaning in different ways. Some follow the crowd for what's popular that month. Most of us take part in some sort of religion or belief in higher power, but do we even know it's true? Some people find their meaning in their passion, dedicating their life to sport or academics, solving world hunger, creating social movements, creating and completing projects. or finding it in someone they love. Is that a true meaning? Or is it used to mask the real answer to the unknown infinite question as to why we're here? Some masks are easier to spot. People get lost, fail to find their meaning, or believe they have no one. Some find their meaning in material objects: alcohol, sex, drugs, hurting others, hurting themselves, the constant need for adventure and something new, attachments to what makes a person feel good, falsely correlating an identity to success, spending ridiculous amounts of time on money on clothes and things to enhance a physical appearance. Because name brand and nice cars are clearly most important, which fortunately is most of the people in the world. What happens to these lost people? It's hard not to go a little insane. From the outside in, they die because the empty void they fill with these things can no longer hide. Guided by the question that guides all of humanity's waking moments, what is my meaning? Why is it so easy to see these people wearing these masks hiding from real answers? And why is it so hard to help them take it off? Why can someone hurt and yearn so desperately to know an answer to one simple question? We can watch but do nothing. Because me, you, like everyone else, lives their lives watching through the eyes of a mask they put on to say they don't suffer from the fear of not knowing. We pretend we know. We pretend we can help and lead people to the right answer, but can we really? Can we really make people believe in an unseen God, a universe of multiple dimensions, that we're controlled by a greater energy? Wouldn't you be mad if you lived a full life only to find out in the end you were doing it all wrong? To die on a bed of regret? What if you got to the doors of whatever heaven you believe in, and you couldn't get in because you were living the wrong meaning, living for nothing? If our purpose is nothing, and the desire for purpose is a man-made concept, then why choose to be here every day? Isn't it morbid to think you might live for nothing? Maybe it's that every day gives you a new reason to keep going. A constant changing reason only makes sense for the constantly changing world around us. Or shouldn't it be consistent? One specific reason? I guess ultimately it's up to you. That could make more sense, right? If your reason is to love someone and that person leaves, to play a sport and you become permanently injured, to preach acceptance and hate those who don't accept you, that doesn't make sense. What if there was one reason that didn't change, but applied to every situation of every day? Is that more settling than letting your mind wander? So I guess the answer is to let your mind create a God. In the end, who really knows? The question you created in your mind has a different meaning to me than to you. And the answer I choose to be right will be the same reason everyone lives their life differently than the rest. But I find reason in myself. I just wanted to say first, the point of reasoning behind this is to question and criticize people that blindly live their life every day without some sort of goal or purpose to drive their actions. And because of this uncommon ideal that I describe, which is supported actually in a lot of religions and philosophers, it causes people to be almost nothing except everything they create for themselves instead of just being themselves. The last line, I find reason in myself, is supporting the concept of something that gives you a permanent happiness and permanent solution to every single circumstances. That ultimately the choice that comes from the choices you make. Which is also a common ideal of philosophers. That's just a famous line. So I chose a couple quotes from the book Man's Search for Meaning because he promotes an existential ideal Viktor Frankl does. And although we talk about different things, the purpose of his book is to question kind of why we're here. The first quote I chose was, ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who asked. In a word, each man is questioned by life, and he can only answer to life by answering for his own life. To life, he can only respond by being responsible, which is one of his very famous quotes. But basically, the connection there is that that it's only you who can question your life and find a meaning to your life that's actually truly meaningful. The second quote I chose is another of Viktor Frankl's, and it is, "What is demand of man is not, as some existential philosophers teach, to endure the meaninglessness of life, but rather to bear his incapacity to grasp its unconditional meaningfulness in rational terms." Okay, and what that means to me is that Viktor Frankl is saying, a lot of philosophers say you should just accept that life doesn't have a meaning, one permanent meaning. But what Viktor Frankl is trying to say you should do is just try and understand things that make it meaningless and try and put a meaning to it, if that makes sense, which is kind of what I described in my product, which is that a lot of people live their life meaningless and don't really put in the effort to work to find a true meaning. Instead, they just sit there and let it happen to them. So the last quote I chose is, "Happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue." And yes, I only chose 3 quotes for the video, but Miss Stark, don't worry, I have 6 in my essay. So what this quote means is that, kind of what I was describing before, is that people will go off on a mission to, quote, find happiness or find themselves, which is basically impossible. Like, you just have to, everything you are looking for, happiness or your meaning or whatever, is already there inside you. It's not something that you need to look for, you just need to let it become you, which is, I don't know how to make that happen. I'm not I don't know. I just don't know how to make that happen for everybody, okay? But my connection here is that you can't, in my product, in my critique is that people will find their happiness in material objects, like I said, cars, clothes. So my final connection is actually to, I don't know if anybody remembers, but Nim's Reply, maybe we read it in the book, but basically it's a critique poem. It's a response to another poem, but it's a critique poem. It's kind of what I did here. I did a very, very loose free verse, whatever I wanted poem, pretty much, and used some sarcasm and criticized things, but at the same time just simply ask questions, not to promote my way of thinking, but to question others.